Welcome back. Yes, indeed, focusing on the economy is a big focus now. I mean, we also the dailies and then Labour's response yesterday, but the argument continues. And today we're focusing on some part of those. We're joined this morning by Mr. Bolaji Ogunseye, who is a sustainable development expert. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, it was huge yesterday. Many thought that, oh dear, they never saw or thought that perhaps Labour was going to respond the way they did yesterday, but they clearly have had it up to here, and they just thought, look, they look at that headline. They wanted to see the president address them. But in spite of all the plans that government has put in place or are putting in place, as we heard the VP say there, the workers don't seem to be feeling this. Is that explainable?
Well, I mean, look, my own attitude would be, let us give government credit so far on the things that in the area they seem to be sort of pressing some right buttons, namely agric, which the vice president spoke rather eloquently on yesterday. It's good. We must say that they've shown not so usual commitment, sincerity, and they're driving it. If they have achieved 10% reduction over, the usual import, volume of rice last year, and they are aiming at the end of next year to be zero and things. If they get it done, and they seem to show determination to deliver, that's good. And then, of course, they need to quickly put in place complementary production strategies, manufacturing, industrial strategies to complement the successes they are very likely to be making in agriculture. But the people, the workers, you say, in spite of all these green shoots, the workers have, because they are not feeling it. You see, at this point, what is happening in Nigeria is what has literally always happened. You have
what's literally always happened.
Yes, oh yes. You have growth, while poverty itself is deepening and widening.
That's the follow-up I wanted to bring up when you said that if they do a lot in terms of following up those policies and making rice available, or assuming we even produce all of our own needs for rice, what about the question of affordability?
Oh yes, I was coming to that. And it's not just rice. The entire, food sector, agro-allied sector, like the vice president said, the value chain in that area, they must find within that sector, agro-allied, they must find other complementary things that can feed into production, non-agro production and everything, because the agro-allied will give you also industrial raw materials, okay? So and that's why I'm saying they should start investing in complementary, okay? But, like you're saying, every time in this country, the leadership has, so far, not shown the willingness to tackle. You see, there are some, in my view, relatively not so difficult problems to tackle to make life easy for the average person and the workers and things. It is, I've said it every time I come here. I keep saying it because it's important in my view. We have a structural inflation problem within the Nigerian economy. Look, why is it that people are broke? In this country, you are not broke because you are paying, you are getting value for money. You are broke because precisely you are not getting value for money. Nigeria must be the most expensive, low-quality market in the world. You are paying very high for low-quality things, and it covers all aspects of the consumer interface, okay? I mean, fixed assets. I was telling somebody right now that, if you look at Nigeria, in any normal country, including Benin, I lived in Benin, okay, with international organization for 4 years, and I know what I'm talking about. Just Benin here, not talk of other African countries. Anything you bought, let's say it's land and a house or whatever, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, by now, the value of that thing will be at most decade on decade value will be at most 80 times more. That is, by the time it's done, 100%, 100%. You know, it will be 80 times. In the most excessive countries, it will be maybe Zambia, I think, 100 times. In Nigeria, decade on decade structural inflation on assets, how much you pay. You go into an estate, you buy a land for $500,000, you spend another 3 million building the house and things. 30 years after, the 100% changes, decade on decade, is millions.
You think it's artificial?
It is artificial, it's not real. I believe the government can begin to look into that. See, many Nigerians are poor, including me. As in, you are broke, you don't have enough money, not because you don't really have enough money, but because the Yorubas, you call it agbana, it's like a spirit that just takes your good money and just takes it.
How do they address that?
There are a number of things. The Nigerian government should now start to work on greed and speculation within the system. That's the first one. They should also, the fight on corruption, if it continues and concludes very well, and there are a lot of big if there, is one aspect. Look, people who make easy money, who steal money from government, they set the price for the rest of us. That is yes, if I have stolen 2 billion from government, I'm looking for where to throw it. So when you bring one bogus low quality house, you call it 200 million. I pay because I want that money. Do you understand? But when I pay, because I've made easy money, I am setting a price for those of you who are making honest money.
Does that trickle down almost on every chain?
It does. Unfortunately, it does. It does. You know, look, what I'm saying is this. Government has this ARGP, is good. Yeah. Let them pursue their objectives there. The only one that I can see that is solid and is central to day-to-day cost of living and everything is the food area and agriculture and everything.
When you talked about looking at the way and manner this government is going about bringing up intervention programs, it's not the first time we're seeing intervention programs. What makes this one different, and what level of successes do you see this one bringing out in comparison to previous ones we've had?
The intervention that government needs to bring now is really to address all those toxins within the system. Look, it's not that difficult for Nigeria to turn around, but there are some, you know what I mean, inside the body, structural toxins in Nigerian system, and I don't believe that the government, many of them, were they born in government? Were they in government 20 years ago? Were they not experiencing this thing? I mean, let me give you one. They talk about ease of doing business. We know what the problems are. The challenge is, how do you translate macro policy, macro level instructions and intentions and decisions to micro operational behavior on the part of those who are working in MDAs, who are behind the counter? It is at that transactional interface. There is no magic, it's not hidden. They know what to do. They know that 3/4, if not everything, in Nigeria that you want to take, certificate, land, CFO, permits, license, everything. They know that if you go there, Mr., Mrs., anybody, and you say, what is in the government book? I'll pay 20,000 and I get this thing in 1 month.
So you never really pay.
It won't happen. You are going to pay 4 or 5 times. Do people in government not know this? Let them go out and intervene. Let them intervene against greed, against speculation, against influence peddling.
That's where state governors come in now.
Precisely.
Because these things happen in states. Some states, look, to get a CFO, it's a
permits, driver's license, all sorts of things. You will do 2 years, you ask people to come back. They go, by the time they get the temporary one, is for 2 months. What is all this?
Let me bring in this perspective. Pardon me, Gilbert.
Let me catch this one. We've surpassed that MDGs phase, and we're talking about sustainable development now.
Yes.
What is the divide between the two? Are we able to delineate the two in Nigeria today?
See, the SDGs are just an expansion of the scope of the MDGs. Okay, now, so it includes more environment emphatic. Do you understand? It includes stuff on immigration, on migration, okay? It includes stuff on slavery, okay? All these other human problems that we have, you know, whereas before it was, the emphasis was on poverty, on work, on you know, I don't want to say redistribution and all those things, okay, and international collaboration. But climate change, environmental problems, you know, rising levels of the seas and things are now a big problem. So the SDGs are just an expansion, okay, of themes.
Before we even get to the SDGs,
the new problems,
I was going to the states, because if you follow through, no matter what the federal government does, you know, all of those policies and the strategies, the ease of doing business, the ERGPs, the states have a huge component. They have a big role to play. So how do the states key into all of this? Because if the states say, look, well, this is my state, so well, I can come up with whichever policy I think will work for me. Will that work in tandem, or wouldn't that be completely against what the government wants to achieve?
It's one of the problems. We are lacking an integration, vertical integration.
I understand we need to go to break now, but we'll come back and take it up from that point in a moment. Join us again.